In this video, we are going to set up the visual representation of the player. So the first thing we are going to do is ditch the sample scene. We are going to create a new scene in our Scenes folder by right-clicking, selecting Create, then selecting Scene. Let's name this Level 1 because that is what it will eventually become. Then let's make sure we open it to begin editing it. So now we should be in Level 1 and not the sample scene. And in fact, let's delete the sample scene because we don't need it. Okay, now that we have this Level 1 scene, we can start building the player in it. The first step to this is putting together the player's representation. This is under our project folder, Assets, Art, Player, Player Sprites. One nice thing about working with 2D sprites is that you can import them as sprite sheets and Unity will automatically make animations for you from the sheet.
So if we drag the entire player sprites asset into our scene by opening it, selecting the first sprite in the sheet, and holding Shift, then selecting the last sprite in the sheet, then drag them in,
you will get a File Explorer window prompting you to save a new animation which has been created from the sprite sheet. So we are going to select our Art folder, Animations folder, Player folder, and then we are going to call this animation Player Idle. And you will notice now, if you go into the folder where the animation was created, there are actually two things. The animation we named is there, but there's also an animation controller called Player Sprites 0, which matches the name of the game object we dragged into our scene and the name of the first sprite in the sprite sheet we dragged in. But that name is a little confusing, so we're going to rename the animation controller in the game object in our scene hierarchy to just Player. Now let's take a moment to look at the player game object since we have it selected and go through its current components just to make sure we understand them all. We have the transform, which has its position, rotation, and scale, which every game object has. We have a sprite renderer, which is important to us because it determines what sprite is displayed and how it is being displayed. Then we have the animator component, which has the animator controller we just renamed, and a few other things that I don't recommend you play with right now, because you won't notice any immediate changes and we want them left as is for later. Let's double check our animation and our player representation to make sure it looks okay. Let's hit play mode. And if we look closely, we can see that the lights on our spaceship are animating, so that looks good. One last thing for us to look at is the way the animation is set up and playback is done. So if we go to Window, Animation, Animation, we get this window that shows nothing unless we have something with an animator in animation on it. So let's keep this window up. If it isn't already docked, you can drag it down here like this to dock it in place. Then let's click on the player. And now we can see something in the animation window. We see the player idle animation we had created automatically by dragging in the sprite sheet. If we hit play, we can see the animation play in the scene view. There is much more to this window, but we won't get into that until later. Lastly, let's go to Window, Animation, Animator to bring up the Animator window, which I like to have docked here. This window shows a state diagram of the last selected animator. In our current case, this would be the player's animator. This is another window we will go into more detail with later, but we can see that what was automatically created when we drag that sprite sheet in is a very simple single state diagram with just the player idle state, which has the player idle animation set as its motion. So when we hit play, the animation goes directly to this, and we don't have to worry about anything more complex for this project.